Monster Hunter Wilds is coming, and apparently we are getting Lagiacrus back now. And I thought that was pretty cool. I am a Monster Hunter 3 fanboy, but what other monsters should come back? Well, if you do not mind me telling you what to think, these are the 7 coolest monsters. I want you personally to go complain to Capcom on Twitter until they put them in the game. And one of them is gonna be Deviljho. Deviljho came out in Monster Hunter 3, but it is always overshadowed by Daddy Lagiacrus, of course. It's a big old black dinosaur, you know, like with a long muscular body and a huge mouth, kinda like a snake. It's really fast and he can knock you back with his tail really easily, which them almost always combos with a charge. And by the time this game came out, Monster Hunter 3, that was kinda unique. There were not a lot of monsters that would intentionally combo attacks. Of course, now it is pretty common, but he was one of the first. One of Deviljho's more unique features is that it is always hungry. It is often seen hunting down other monsters to eat, which adds a little bit of unpredictability to the fight, because sometimes it will stop fighting you to try to attack other monsters, which in turn you can take advantage of to make a really hard fight a lot easier. And I get it, there is already a quadrillion dinosaurs in Monster Hunter, that's like the one thing that they always go for, but I really appreciate it when they give it a little bit of personality. The thing that I like about Deviljho is that even if you are not very good at the proper game, if you know how to trick him, how to drag him into other monsters, you can still beat them. And I appreciate those kind of tricks in the game. Next is gonna be, well, Barrot. Barrot is already in World, and that's probably why we are not gonna see it in Monster Hunter Wilds, but I really like Barrot. Barrot came out in Monster Hunter 3. Did you know that Barrot comes from the Spanish word barro, which means mud? The Japanese are super into Spanish, they think it's super fancy. He's a brute wyvern with heavy armor. Now, there is a ton of armored wyverns in Monster Hunter, but the reason I like Barrot is because of the spin they put in it. Like I said, he likes mud. Barrot spins on mud to get extra defense as an attack. Also, when he's covered in mud, he is resistant to fire, but when he's not covered in mud, he is weak to fire. And I am kinda into the changing resistances kinda deal. I think that's kinda cool. But I'm gonna be honest, okay? The mud traps on the ground, they are really annoying. If you step on the mud, you slip over, you cannot fight them. But at the same time, I am an insect glaive player now, so I like that because I get to laugh at the people that cannot be on the air all the time. Also, another cool part about heavy armor monsters, and Tokuda said this is the reason they put Gravios back in the game, is that with the new focus mode, there is a lot more gameplay variety when you can focus into a particular part of the boss to go through the armor. And I think a bipedal, a ground wyvern with heavy armor would make like a great fit into that ecosystem. Are we gonna see it though? I would say probably not. And that's a shame because I kinda like the Barrot armor. That's kinda like the one thing I wanna see in the game more than anything, just his armor set. Next boss is Lunastra. Lunastra was first introduced in Monster Hunter 2. She's the female counterpart to Teostra, which, funnily enough, I don't even like Teostra. Something that makes Lunastra stand out to me is the blue fire. She throws blue fire, and in a kind of controlled manner. It doesn't look like the traditional monster gets angry and throws fire and trashes around all the time. No, she's actually like laser focused, trying to deny an area of the map. It kind of feels like she's smart. Once again, making her very special. Her most unique ability is that she could throw fire on the ground, and she would leave fire in the ground as an effect, as an active trap, and you could not go near it. And I think that's the main reason that we are not gonna see Lunastra probably, if I were to bet, because the new Gravios is doing that now. That's a new thing that Gravios can do. So yeah, that's 2 monsters that Gravios already ruined for everybody. How do you feel now? I hope you're happy, Gravios. I cannot stress enough how unique Lunastra is. Her fight is like playing cat and mouse. She's constantly in the air, which, okay, it sucked for the old games when you didn't have a lot of ranged attacks or jumping attacks or anything, but now that people have a lot more options with their moveset, it is really fun. I like constantly fighting monsters. I loved Raidao in the beta. We were also told that we are not getting Rathalos, but if you played Rathalos in Monster Hunter World, she is basically the same thing. She, of course, Lunastra is also an Iceborn, but even though Gravios is kinda stealing her thunder, or, well, her fire, I think Lunastra would be a great replacement for the people that really like Rathalos in Monster Hunter World. Next in the list is gonna be Monoblos. Monoblos came with the very first Monster Hunter game, and sometimes I really feel that Capcom hates him. But I don't, I like him, okay? I really like Triceratops, okay? I am a grown man with speech problems. Of course I like dinosaurs. Monoblos is a large, horned dinosaur dude that charges you with his horn. The horn is the most distinctive feature. I do not even know if it was intentional or not, but sometimes he tilts his head down when you are attacking it, and because the horn is very highly armored, it feels like it is blocking the attacks. Which is once again something very unique. What monster do you know that intentionally blocks your attacks? Personally, I would like to see the Shattered Monoblos variant because that's the one that looks the coolest. Kinda like Purple Gypceros. I hope we also get to see Purple Gypceros. Probably we will. Purple Gypceros is a bit of a fan favorite. But yeah, I mean, like, how can you go wrong with Monoblos? He's a Triceratops, man. He's the coolest dinosaur. If you ask any grown man, name your top 3 favorite dinosaurs, Triceratops is easily like number 2, right? No, we are not gonna take an Anjat, okay? That's not gonna be in my list. I don't like him. They put food on his tail. That's weird. Next on the list is gonna be the Kurupeko. And oh boy, the Kurupeko, we haven't seen you, brother, in a long, long time. The Kurupeko came out in Monster Hunter 3, but the real Monster Hunter 3, not the Wii U ripoff that they shut down the online mode on the Wii 4, okay? Screw Capcom. But the Kurupeko is one of the quirkiest monsters out there. Its main ability is that it can imitate other monsters' cries. And I like that because the Kurupeko fundamentally messes with the concept of turf wars. As you know, one of the main mechanics in Monster Hunter is that sometimes when you're hunting a monster, the monsters are gonna fight other monsters. They are gonna get distracted, and you, as a hunter, you take advantage of that to fight and, get an advantage. But the Kurupeko flips it on its head. Instead of fighting other monsters, it calls them. He can imitate speech like a parrot and convince other monsters to help him. And granted, yes, in Monster Hunter 3, he called a crappy great Jaggy that didn't do anything, but what if it called something scary? Like, the possibilities are endless with what they could take the Kurupeko for. What if they made it so he can call a lot of different monsters even early on in the game? What if he can call a high-level monster early on in the game, and you have to run away from it or something? You have to chase it in some way, maybe you have to throw dung on it. Or what if you intentionally hunt the Kurupeko because the Kurupeko has the ability to call a unique monster, like a rare chance to get, like, I don't know, like a recolor of another monster, like a way to farm a very rare item, and the Kurupeko can make it more likely that you're gonna see that monster. They could use him for a lot of things. It also would make the Kurupeko, which was an early game monster, he could turn into a late game monster. You're fighting this crappy guy. Imagine you are fighting the crappy Kurupeko and then comes Lagiacruz, but he's holding a plank with a nail on it. Now that's a threat to the ecosystem. In my opinion, a big thing that makes a boss design good is that it takes advantage of the game's mechanics, and the Kurupeko is one of the perfect examples of a monster that's very intentionally designed for Monster Hunter. There is a lot of monsters in Monster Hunter that you look at them and you think, oh, this may very well be a monster in Dark Souls or something. Like, it doesn't have a lot of reason to be in the Monster Hunter universe. As much as I like Lala Varina, I do not think she looks like part of Monster Hunter, for example, but the Kurupeko is the most Monster Hunter monster you can see ever. Also, it looks silly as hell, and I like silly monsters. Next monster is gonna be the Shogun Xenotor. The Shogun Xenotor appeared in Monster Hunter 2, and it is very unique for its time because he inspired an entire family of monsters later on in the series. He is a gigantic crab. He got massive armor, he got pincers, the entire thing. He looks like a bulky and tough and scary thing. He also has several weak spots. I mean, maybe not mechanically, but visually. Once again, I think focus mode would benefit a lot from a monster like this. But the aesthetic of very slim in some areas and very tough in other areas is actually very realistic. I don't know if you ever tried to crack a crab open. It is really freaking hard. Until somebody tells you where you gotta put the knife in. The Shogun Xenotor is surprisingly fast, it can quickly chase you down, and he will sometimes do it randomly, which makes using items really freaking scary. He's one of those bosses that gets a lot easier when you are doing multiplayer. The fight requires constant awareness and constant dodging, which makes playing ranged weapons awful. Thank God we do not do any of that ranged thing here, okay? I'd rather die than play a ranged weapon, okay? I'd rather suck. Besides, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but games now come out with an arachnophobia mode because it is offensive to people that do not like spiders. And what do they replace the spiders with? Giant crabs. I don't know about you guys, but I think a gigantic man-eating crab is a lot scarier than a spider. Maybe that's just me though, I don't know. Let me assure you, you cannot kill a crab with a flip-flop. So really think about what's less scary to you. Final monster in the list, which is gonna turn me into the most generic man on existence, because I know this is kind of a fan favorite out there. I really want to see back Toby Kadachi. Yes, my homie Toby. And this is not some sort of nostalgia bait, okay? He came out in Monster Hunter World, and I only started playing Monster Hunter World recently, and he quickly became one of my favorite bosses. His design is so stupid, it somehow does a 180 and it becomes the coolest thing ever, okay? He's a flying squirrel with a snake's head that climbs on top of trees and throws thunders. Who does that? Like, how much demon powder was Tokuda snorting when he came out with this thing? A lot. The animations are oddly adorable. He looks fairly clumsy until he doesn't. He also does a little spin in the air, which is really cute. He climbs on trees a lot, and this is not even the boss's design to be fair, but his little arena on his nest where there's a bunch of trees around them and you gotta learn how to climb on them to do aerial attacks to get the most damage out of the fight. I really like that concept. And I know he is one of the easiest monsters in the campaign. And I am not saying he should be easy in Monster Hunter Wild, quite the contrary, I think they should make him a little harder, but gosh dang it, my homie Toby should be in the new Monster Hunter game again. But what monster do you think we should see in Monster Hunter Wilds? What monster do you miss? And do you actually think they are gonna put him in? Because I mentioned a lot of monsters in this list that I am coping, I am pretty sure they are not gonna put them in the game, and that makes me a little sad. I don't know, maybe DLC? By my calculation, there is about 10 monsters we haven't seen yet that are possibly gonna be a returning monster. Also, we are doing an invitational tournament with the top speedrunners in the game for the Monster Hunter Wilds beta this February 9th, so subscribe and stay tuned for that. Also, we are gonna do a community tournament the day before the 8th, so we can test everything and make sure nothing needs to be changed for the rule set, because we don't know in what state the beta is gonna come out. So if you wanna participate in it, if you wanna have some fun, we're gonna do that speed killing chat tournament in the 8th. Everybody's gonna be welcome for that one. And subscribe, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.